بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أنا الحمد لله حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه كما يحبنا عز وجل كما يحبنا ويرضى ربنا سبحانه وتعالى وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد. We get started tonight. We're catching up and wrapping up and mopping up with some of the questions that we couldn't answer on Thursday. And bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, if there are any new or fresh questions that we have tonight, we'll try to tackle some of them by the permission of Ar-Rahman. Ahmed. Alhamdulillah. Fadal.
AA Santa Rosa, California. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How to increase my iman and be strong in my iman. Jazakallahu khairan.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May Allah reward you with good as well. Question from Santa Rosa, California. How to increase one's iman and become strong when iman. We did a lecture on this called Reasons Behind Increase of Iman. Increase and decrease of iman. You can find the lecture on the channel we did a good 3 or 4 years ago called Reasons Behind Increase and Decrease of Iman. That's firstly. Secondly, we did the entire chapter of Al-Iman from Al-Lu'lu wal-Marjan. Over 120 hadith from Bukhari and Muslim pertaining to Al-Iman. And we explained those hadiths, walillahi alhamd, in detail. So that, without a doubt, is a great starting point and ending point with regards to growing in Iman. As far as the simple basic answer right now, the people of knowledge mention several reasons behind one's Iman growing. First and foremost is knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and knowledge of His names and attributes. Number 2 is reflection, pondering over the universe, the greatness of creation. These are things which help a person do what? And grow in faith and in Iman. Khair inshallah, also accompanying the righteous, making for yourself goals and challenges, and also rejuvenating your Iman. And alhamdulillah, we did a lecture on this some years back in Philadelphia called Explanation of the Hadith. Ask Allah to renew your Iman. Sallallahu an yujaddidu lakum al-Iman, or yujaddida imanakum. Ask Allah to renew your Iman. The Prophet ﷺ is quoted to have said in his hadith, فَإِنَّ الْإِيمَانَ لَيَخْلُقُ فِي جَوْفِ أَحْدِكُمْ كَمَا يَخْلُقُ الثَّوْبِ أو كما قال. Hadith that states, for indeed Iman can grow tattered, Iman can grow worn out, can fade, just like a piece of clothing does. You have a shirt, you had a shirt for 10 years, it's your favorite shirt. Or your favorite socks, favorite Argyle socks. You wash them 100 times. You love the color. When you first bought the socks, dark, rich navy blue. Now it's faded. You get a hole on your heel. The toes start to thin out because you had them so long, you wore them so much. And the same applies to one's faith. Sin, disobedience, forgetfulness, trials, tribulations, things happen in one's life, and which cause your iman to become a little faded, a little thin. So you have to what? Refresh it. You have to renew it. You have to rejuvenate your iman. So please go back to that lecture as well, which we explained what? In detail. As far as keeping your iman strong, then it goes back to the reasons. Constantly seeking knowledge. Constantly reflecting on Allah's creation. Constantly learning and restudying Allah's names and attributes. And remaining in the company of the righteous. You make a mistake, make tawbah. You become heedless, make dhikr. وَهَكَذَا. Wallahu alam.
AA Santa Rosa, California. How to attain peace and good manners, being steadfast in that.
Please go back to the lesson that we did called Sakina and Inner Peace. Sakina and Inner Peace. And just a brief reminder for those who may know already, and a benefit for those who don't know, is that you have to make sure that you listen to and watch all of the videos, because there are countless things that people that ask on a daily basis is right there, whether it's in the playlist or sometimes you just gotta just watch them, put it on autoplay. And I'm not saying it's bragging. Allah knows it's not our intention, but we're saying this as a benefit, is that the information is there in abundance. And we've done long, extensive lectures, Ibn Qayyim, Ibn Taymiyyah, khutbah, classes, explanation of all of these things. But oftentimes you don't dig in the crates, as they say. Everybody understand this? So it's very important. So we spoke about this many times. Istiqamah. The khutbah, a week before last, psychotherapy was about istiqamah. One of the first videos that was published on Hadith Disciple back when it was Hadith Studies was istiqamah in Morris County, New Jersey. Everybody, Rockaway, New Jersey. Everybody understand this? On istiqamah. So please go back to those videos. Also, the concept of the lecture that we did called Sakina and Inner Peace from the words of Ibn Qayyim. Inshallah ta'ala. Wallahu alam.
And Islam, New York, New York. If someone walks over prayer mats with shoes, are the prayer mats impure because those shoes are walked in urine and in places where dog poop has been?
No, the prayer mat is not defiled. It doesn't become dirty unless you know for sure that the shoe has filth upon it. One can walk upon impurities with their bare feet, and their bare feet become mutanajjisa. They become filthy and Islamically defiled. You can walk upon something which is najis with your bare feet, and the bottom of your shoes and boots can be clean and pure. So there is no connection between the two. Rather, as we have said before, Talib, this is from the culture and the madhabs creeping up upon the text. The Prophet ﷺ prayed in his shoes and his sandals. And he told the people to pray in their shoes and their sandals and in their khufs. And he instructed them that if it's dirty, if it's filthy, clean it off and pray therein. He told the people not to take off the khuf. Do not take off the shoe. He said, فَإِنْ كَانَ فِيهِمَا أَذًا, if there's dirt upon it, meaning najasa, فَلْيَمْسَحْهُمَا وَلْيُصَلِّ فِيهِمَا. He says, wipe them off and pray therein. وَلَا يُؤْذِهِمَا أَوْ لَا وَلَا يُؤْذِي بِهِمَا أَحَدًا. And don't harm anybody with your shoes. If you're going to take them off, you're going to put them between your feet, don't put them and it's going to harm someone. So the Prophet ﷺ's sunnah in action, in statement, and also what he allowed the companions to do is that they prayed in their shoes and in their sandals. However, culture and madhabs, not the whole entire madhab, but a view on an issue that is not based off of the pure, authentic sunnah from the get-go has dominated and taken over and it has influenced opinion. If you ask the average Muslim today, what's the rule on praying in your shoes? Say it's haram. You can't pray in your shoes. إِنَّكَ بِالْوَادِ مُقَدَّسِ طُوَى. That he says, فَخْلَعْنَا عَلَيْكَ. Allah told Moses, he says, take off your shoes, take off your sandals, because you're in the holy valley of Tuwa. There's a proof they use that you can't pray in your shoes. That Allah told Musa alayhi salam to do what? فَخْلَعْنَا عَلَيْكَ. He says, take off your sandals, O Moses, because you're in this holy valley. And the Prophet ﷺ prayed in his sandals, told the Sahaba to do it, and allowed the Sahaba to do it. Hadith Abu Sa'id al-Khudri in Sunan Abi Dawood, the Prophet had the Sahaba in the Salah. And then all of a sudden he took off his sandals and he put them to the side. And then the Sahaba did the exact same thing. When the Prophet finished his prayer and he saw that they were bare feet, they were barefoot, they didn't have the sandals or their shoes, he says, مَا حَمَلَكُمْ عَلَى إِلْقَاءِ نِعَالِكُمْ. Listen carefully to the words. He says, what has caused you to take off your shoes? The Prophet, he asked them what? Why did they take off? Listen carefully. He says, why did you take your shoes off? It's permissible. He says, why did you take them off? He asked them, what made you do that? Because that's the sunnah. And he says, we saw you take off yours, so we took off ours. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, Jibreel came to me and he told me that there was something that was impure upon them. Everybody understand? So we go on and on and on and on and on about the ruling of praying in shoes and sandals and how it's become an abandoned, dead sunnah. And how the people, not only do they not just avoid practicing it, but they show hatred to it. And most don't even know that it's from the deen. Fuqaha. They don't even know that it's from the sunnah. There are many ahadith. As Al-Tahawi, rahimahullah, the great Hanafi scholar of the 4th century, he said that the akhbar, the narrations of the Messenger of Allah pertaining to praying in his shoes are so countless, so abundant. But the average person today, Imam, Mufti, Faqih, say, no, you can't pray in your shoes. Haram to pray in your shoes. That's one level. The next level, like the questioner says, what if, what if? The questioner is trying, but they still have what? That influence on their mind. Because you can walk in urine with your what? Bare feet. And there's no difference. You can walk in urine with your what? With your khuffain. And no one is saying that you can't what? Pray with your feet. No one says it's haram to pray with your khuffain. But they say it's haram to do what? pair of shoes. Or if it's not haram, they can't deny the hadith that says, but you walked in dog crap. What if I didn't? We both walked to the masjid. My shoes are clean. Your feet are what? Dirty. Ruling and change? No. So we've spoken about this many times before, and we'll say it once more because it's very dangerous, is that ignorance cannot overcome knowledge. Jahl cannot conquer ilm. And the authentic sunnah of Prophet ﷺ is not to be interpreted and influenced by opinion and culture. Rather, the opinion and the culture is supposed to be what? According to the sunnah. Wallahu alam.
AA Santa Rosa, California. How to advise Muslims, both elderly and young, to not wear or sell shirk bracelets, necklaces, like eye bracelets.
The people need to be reminded of Islam. The average Muslim today is just far from Islam, far from the true teachings of Islam, because of the dunya, because of college, because of sports, because of culture, because of madhabs, and whatever the case may be. The average person is far from the pure teachings of Islam because of these different things. So before you get into the concept of the bracelet, or not wearing the hijab, or riba, or isbal, the pants being beneath the ankles, or the beard, or whatever the case may be, the sutra, whatever the case may be, you have to get to the definition of Islam. What does it mean to be a Muslim? You have to submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what is submitting to? How do you submit to Allah? Can you see Allah? Can you interact with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? How do you submit with Allah? How do you submit to Allah? You submit to Allah through His rulings. And indeed, from His rulings is that which is in the Quran and that which is in the Prophet's authentic sunnah. Well, hakada, you break it down. We're all Muslims. Things that you can and cannot do. Things that lead you to destruction. Things that lead you to paradise. Well, hakada. And also, very importantly, is knowledge. And that's something that has become dead among many, if not most Muslims, is Islamic awareness. Islamic awareness. Knowledge, awareness of knowledge. Everybody understand this? Basic knowledge of the deen. Basic love and respect for ilm and the deen has become what? Very scarce among many, if not most Muslims today. So these are all different introductions that you have to give to this Muslim in general, and also tell them specifically about wearing anything or saying anything or doing anything that constitutes shirk or leads to shirk, whether it's superstition, sorcery, amulets, bracelets, and the list goes on. Everybody understand this? But if you just isolate the situation, that's shirk. You can't do that. And they don't even know what shirk is. Or they don't know why shirk is so dangerous. Everybody understand this? It's very, very important. Wallahu alam. Ahmed, you say you didn't have a question? You did say that. Tafadhal.
Is it permissible to sleep on one's stomach?
Question says, is it permissible to sleep on one's stomach? In brief, it's permissible to sleep on your stomach. The hadith to say this from the Daji'at Ahl al-Nar, or the Daji'at Ahl al-Nar is the way of the people of the fire, how they sleep. I don't consider those hadiths to be authentic based off of my research. Wallahu alam.
AO, London, UK. I am a traveler, and while traveling, I intend to combine Maghrib and Isha at the time of Isha. But at the time of Isha, I will be a resident. Should I shorten with combining?
Once you become a resident, there's no more traveling. You become a what? A resident. So you have one or two options, or one or three. First option is to make Maghrib and Isha at the time of Maghrib while you're actually a traveler. Second option is to just make Maghrib while you're traveling and make Isha when you're a resident. And that's it. There's only one of two, not one of three. So once you become a resident, khalas, there is no shortening of the prayers. Everybody understand this? You're no longer a what? Traveler. So when you're a traveler, it takes just a bit of fiqh and a bit of preparation. Everybody understand this? A bit of preparation. You have to think about how long you're going to be in the airport. I got to check in. They're going to hold me up. I'm going to be here. I have to make wudu, wipe over my socks. I had to take my shoes off to go through the screening. You have to have a little bit of what? Just a bit of fiqh. Prepare yourself before time. When I want to make wudu, I don't want to make wudu in the airplane's bathroom. It's going to be dirty. The floor is, you have to have just a bit of what? Preparation, a bit of fiqh. When it comes to salah, comes to eating, the qibla, the time, you have a little bit of what? Preparation. Wallahu alam. And as a wise man once said, traveling is an institution by itself. That's what he said today. Tayyib, next question. Talib.
Are you sinful if you use like physical currency to buy and sell things?
Are you sinful if you use physical currency to buy and sell things? You're talking about like dollar bills? Yani, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, hopefully you're not sinful. We don't have enough time to get into the whole concept of riba and the system, gold and silver. However, the well-known currency of the majority of the modern world today is through what? Bills, euros, francs, dollars, liras, huh? Yens, pounds, rupees, pesos, TTs, many other things. The list goes on, huh? People call this thing that we call what? Fulus. Cheese, cream, chicken, his dough, 1,000 different colloquial terms for money today. At the end of the day, Allah Azza wa Jal, He's the one who told us to, or allow us to buy and sell. He's the one who told us to lend our brothers and not to charge them, to give a good debt. He's the one who told us to pay back our debts. And the list goes on. So if Allah Azza wa Jal allowed us to do these things, and He forbade us from doing certain things, and it's the current currency today, that will put us in a clear hardship. For some say you can't use dollar bills today because they're not supported by gold and silver, so on and so forth. Wallahu alam, that's in brief. Osama.
Is it permissible to eat an animal that was slaughtered correctly from the throat, but the name of Allah wasn't used?
Question says, is it permissible to eat an animal that was slaughtered correctly, but Allah's name was not mentioned thereupon? Is detail among the people of knowledge with regards to saying Bismillah? Is it a shart, a condition, or is it just something that's obligatory? And that's a big difference between the two. If you forget it, so on and so forth. Also, when it comes to the Jews and the Christians, are they saying Allah in the name of Allah, in the name of God, or are they saying in the name of the Messiah? Everybody understand this? Or Uzair, or so on and so forth. The list goes on. So at the end of the day, what's most important is for you to focus on is first and foremost the deen and the method of slaughter. The specifics of the slaughter, what is exactly being said, is important, but that's not the main thing, because that can become hidden to you very easily. But the main outward thing is the deen and the way of the slaughter. Everybody clear on this? So we have someone who says that I'm a Mormon, or someone says a Christian, and they're trying to practice Christianity. All right, this is a farm-raised animal. Everybody understand this? And it's hand slaughtered. What is said, so the details of that is not going to be your main focus. And the same applies to a Muslim. Person is a Muslim, there's nothing apparent from shirk and kufr that's apparent from him. La ilaha Muhammad Rasulullah, Assalamu alaikum. That's the zahir. And you know that it's being cut with a knife by hand. Bismillah. But you yourself slaughtering it, make sure that you say what? Bismillah. If you yourself know specifically Allah's name is not being mentioned by a Muslim, Jew, or Christian, different story. Clear on this? And Allah knows best.
NA, Toronto, Canada.
And also you can go back to the playlist that we did on slaughtering and hunting and slaughtering in the Kitab and Sunnah. We did an extensive playlist on this. Foods years ago, a few on the channel. Wallahu alam. Maybe we'll do another one inshallah.
NA, Toronto, Canada. Can you make wuku before you join the saf? Is it sunnah?
Is it permissible to make a ruku' before you join the saf? That which is apparent is that it's permissible to do. With a few conditions. The first condition is that it's not, obviously you're going to face the qibla. You're going to come into the masjid in which the qibla is in your direction of travel. Let's say from the back door. We're making ruku'. A brother enters from the back door. He sees him making ruku'. Everybody understand this now? Can he say Allahu Akbar at the back door, bow down, and then walk briskly to the saf? The distance is an issue. How quickly or how swiftly you move, that's a what? That's an issue. But that which is apparent from the sunnah is that it's permissible to make ruku' even if you're not directly in the saf. So let's say, for example, a brother walked in from over here and he saw we were in ruku' and he wanted to catch the rak'ah. So he basically made ruku', he turned around and faced the qibla right where you're sitting, Osama. He made Allahu Akbar, then he bowed down in the saf. That's one thing. It's not a big long distance. But all the way from the back to the front, that may be problematic. Or moving from the back and then, as the hadith of Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu says, dabba ila saf. He walked quickly. It's a different story. Everybody understand this? So bid'nillahi ta'ala, hopefully it's permissible. And hopefully it's also permissible to make the ruku' and to make a few small movements and steps briskly to the saf. based off of the interpretation of the hadith, زادك الله حرصا ولا تعد. زادك الله حرصا ولا تعدو. Wallahu a'lam.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. AK Cologne, Germany. Is it haram to respond to the salam when you are in the bathroom? Recently I was cleaning the bathroom and then my father came home and gave me salam.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's not necessarily haram. As we explained before, it is not haram to mention Allah's name in the bathroom. It's not necessarily the best place if it can be avoided, but it isn't necessarily haram. And the salams are obligatory to be returned if they're given to you. As Allah tells us in the Quran, and as the Prophet ﷺ explains to us, the rights of the Muslim upon his fellow Muslim. Everybody clear on this? So a person who is actually relieving him or herself, that's one thing. A person is cleaning himself, different story. In the hammam, in the bathroom, totally what? Different story. Allahu alam.
AM Manchester, UK. Salam. Please, I yearn for information of our theology. Are we Ash'ari, Maturidi, or Athari? What did the Salaf Salih follow?
So, question says, I yearn with regards to our theology. Are we Ash'ari? Are we Maturidi? Are we Athari? What did the Salaf Salih follow? That's a very, very long discussion. First and foremost, go back to the website, hadithdisciple.com, in which you can download a free copy of the book, The Importance of Learning the Creed, of Ibn Abil Izz al-Hanafi, rahimahullah ta'ala. The importance of learning the creed. He, a great Hanafi scholar of the medieval times, he has a beautiful introduction passage to his explanation of al-Aqidah Tahawiyah, in which he talks about the importance of learning usul al-Din, and what is usul al-Din, and from where is usul al-Din to be taken. We translated this book some years back in Medina. Download the free PDF. Okay, that's first and foremost. There you'll find a beautiful discussion of this whole thing in brief. The importance of learning the creed. That's first and foremost. Also, the countless classes that we've done on the channel pertaining to Iman, Asma wa Sifat, explanation of the Hadith, and the list goes on. Okay, as far as the specific answer right now, is the answer to the question is found in the people who say and follow these different sects and groups. What do the Ash'ari say? Those who call themselves Ash'aris. And that's a very long discussion. Who's Ash'ari? Who's Abul Hasan al-Ash'ari? We don't have time to get into that right now. The Islamic history. What's important is they themselves, they say Tariqat al-Salaf, Aslam, wa Tariqat al-Khalaf, A'lamu wa Ahkam. They say, or from their slogans and their constitution is, the way of the Salaf is safest. But the way of the Khalaf, those who came after them, is more precise. So they themselves are professing that they are not following what? Salaf al-Salih when it comes to the deen. In all aspects, let alone usul al-Deen. So the answer is right there. These groups, these schisms, they themselves saying that we have a different set, a different rule. Their way was simplistic and basic. Aslam, it was safest. Don't say nothing. Allah's hand is above their hand. Allah is above the throne. Allah became angry with these people. Just leave it as it is. No fiqh, no tafsir, no meaning, nothing. That's Aslam. And the tariqah, the way of the Khalaf, interpreting it and saying it really means Allah's power. When Allah says his hand, he means his power. Allah's face means his reward. Allah rose above the throne, he conquered the throne, and things like this. And giving it a twisted, warped meaning, they say that's a'lamu wa ahkam. That's better, that's more precise. So they themselves are declaring that they're not what? Their way. So that's the answer to the question. Everybody understand this? And in brief, the creed of the Salaf al-Salih with regards to the entire deen, let alone the Asma wa Sifat and Iman and things like this, is to affirm what's affirmed in the Quran and the Sunnah in a pure, organic way. Back in the day, there was no such thing as organic food. There was no whole foods. There was no organic meat. There was just what? Food, because it was what? So organically raised, organically fed, so on and so forth. There was no need to put that label on. There was no need to say that because there wasn't no mass production and this additive and this color and this GMO. It didn't exist. Everybody understand this? So what they were upon, that was the pure, authentic way. The pure, authentic Arabic language. Everybody understand this? Imam Malik, rahimahullah ta'ala, this is a very, very long discussion, but to summarize the whole way is the basic simple words. When a man asked him, said, "Oh Malik, Al-Rahman al-Arsh istawa." Allah made istiwa upon the arsh. What does that mean? He said, "Al-istiwa ma'loom, wal-kayfu majhul, wal-imanu bihi wajib, وَالسُّؤَالُ عَنْهُ بِدْعَةٌ وَمَا أَرَاكَ إِلَّا رَجُلَ سُوءٍ. He says that istiwa is known, meaning in the Arabic language, it's well known. Istawa is well known, the meaning of it, according to the pure orthodox tongue of the Arabs, well known. No ambiguities in the Arabic language. وَالْكَيْفُ مَجْهُولٌ. How is unknown. Just like you don't know how Allah is himself. Do you know how Allah is? How is Allah's knowledge? How is Allah's power? How is Allah's claim? You don't. But you believe in it and you affirm it. He says, وَالْإِيمَانُ بِهِ وَاجِبٌ. It's obligatory to affirm it, because Allah informed you thereof. وَالسُّؤَالُ عَنْهُ بِدْعَةٌ. And asking about how it is an innovation. And he said, and I think that you're an evil man. And he told the man to be thrown out of the Prophet's masjid. So this narration here summarizes the whole creed of Islam and the way of the Salaf Salih. That which is known in Arabic language, the modality, the specifics of it, we don't know. Just like we don't know how Allah is himself, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Believing in it is mandatory. Trying to figure it out and use our puny, weak minds and comparing Allah and this and that is wrong. And that's just that simple. Wallahu alam.
AK Cologne, Germany. Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh. There's a hadith in which the Prophet ﷺ talks about henna for women, that it's good for women to use it, but what is the ruling in regards to someone uses henna but don't cover the hands in front of non-mahrams? Is it permissible, or should a person avoid to show it in front of other men?
Henna is hadiths on henna for men, in which the Prophet ﷺ strongly encouraged the men to use henna for their hair, for their beards. He commanded them to use henna for their beards. Everybody understand this? And not like many people misunderstand and misinterpret countless brothers with regards to the gray hair. They have a gray beard and they say, don't use the henna. Let the nur stay. Let the sunnah stay. That's wrong. The hadith about he who grows a gray hair in Islam, it will be a light from the day of judgment, is pertaining to those who pluck the gray hair and try to pull it out to look younger, and they pull it out. That has nothing to do with the hadith of dyeing the hair. The Prophet ﷺ clearly, strongly encouraged the Sahaba to dye their hair and to be different from the Jews and the Christians and the polytheists. Everybody clear on this? Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, radiallahu anhu, his father accepted Islam many years on the day of the Fath of Mecca. The hadith says, جَاءَ رَأْسُهُ كَالثَّغَامَةِ بَيَاضًا. The hadith says that his head was white as a hyssop plant. And a hyssop plant is a flower that grows on a mountaintop. Very interesting fact. On a mountaintop, extremely white, snow white, as they say. Some say cocaine white. White is white. Everybody understand this? His hair was white. The Prophet ﷺ, he told Abu Bakr's father, he says, غَيِّرُوا هَذَا وَجَنِّبُوهُ السَّوَادِ. Hadith of Jabir. He says, change this man's hair color right now and don't dye it black. He just became a Muslim. But he wanted the identity of the Muslims to be what? Instantly distinct. Not like the people today, there's no such thing as a Muslim clothes, there's no such thing as a Muslim name, there's no such thing as a Muslim dress. No, you can say what you want, dress it. That's what we hear today. People are scholars and doctors. There's no such thing as a Muslim name. There are Arab names, there's no Muslim name. They say this. There's no such thing as Muslim clothes. Muslims don't have specific clothes and fashion. Wear whatever you want. And the Prophet ﷺ, he said to this man who was just a mushrik, غَيِّرُوا هَذَا. He says, change his hair color and don't dye it black. And narration says he told his women to take him and to dye his hair, so he can be instantly what? Clear with the Muslims. Everybody understand this or not? Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, Umar al-Khattab, Uthman, Ali radhiyallahu anhu, the Khulafa, read their biographies. And they all talk about how they dyed their what? Their hair with henna. So that's not the proper understanding of the hadith about gray hair. It's the sunnah to dye your hair with henna for men. So before we even talk about it's good for women, it's good for what? For men. It's not necessarily obligatory, as the Shawkani says, but it's definitely from the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, and it has its benefits. Everybody understand this or not? Please go back to the book that we translated some years back called The Impermissibility of Dyeing One's Hair Black. The Impermissibility of Dyeing One's Hair Black. It's a book we translated years ago. I don't know if the book is available. Maybe it's in Dar es-Salaam. This is about 8-9 years ago we translated the book, Shaykh Mupir rahimahullah. And in that book he talks about the virtue of the henna and all the hadith talking about dyeing the hair except for the color black. So a man or a woman's hair should not be dyed black according to the strongest view from the ulama. Everybody understand this. As far as the specific question, a woman's henna, then it's permissible for her to henna her hands, her arms, her feet, whatever part of her body she wishes to do so. But if she's going to put henna, she has to cover her beauty and her adornments. If you're going to put henna on your hands, then you have to wear gloves. or stay in the house, and no one but your mahram sees your hands or any part of your body upon which there is what? Henna. Many women, they make this mistake. If you wear henna, then the arms, the hands should be what? Covered. Except to the mahram. Husband, son, brother, and the list goes on. Everybody understand this? And the same applies to jewelry as well. Bracelets and bangles and rings and different things like this. Fingers, henna on the nails, anything like this. And the same applies to makeup upon the face. If you want to wear makeup and lip gloss and this color and this thing and this ring and those, it should be what? Covered. Wallahu alam.
MR Surrey, UK. In an interview on the channel, you mentioned that you went to Medina at 19 and you were married. Please, could you explain how you sustained your wife while studying intensively?
I went to Medina when I was 19. I don't remember saying that. When I went to Medina when I was 19, I wasn't married. Perhaps you may be talking about when I went to Yemen or when I went to Medina University. But that wasn't, I was maybe 20 at that time, maybe 21. But when I first went to Medina, I was 18, I believe. I was unmarried. Okay, so maybe I did say it and I made a mistake, or maybe you may have misheard it or got the dates confused. At the end of the day, when I was overseas and I was married, wife with children, how did you sustain your family? You don't sustain your family. I never sustained my family. Allah sustained me. Allah sustains us all. Everybody understand this? Inna Allaha huwa ar-razzaqu dhul quwwatil mateen. Allah is the provider. Wa huwa yut'imu wa la yut'am. Allah feeds and is not fed. Subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah feeds us and Allah takes care of us. So that's first and foremost. Obviously we know what the person intends, but we have to actually get down to the, as you said, the nitty gritty. The original asl is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who takes care of us. He feeds us and He provides for us. Everybody understand this or not? So therefore, in brief, I'll say in brief, the best thing that I can give you, brothers in the UK, sisters in the UK, the disciples, is the statement of Abdullah ibn Umar. قُلْ لِطَالِبِ الْعِلْمِ خُذْ نَعْلَيْنِ مِنْ حَدِيدٍ. He says, tell the knowledge seeker to buy a pair of iron sandals. Tell the knowledge seeker to buy a pair of iron sandals. That's the first thing that you should do, Ahmed. Go buy yourself some metal shoes. Everybody understand this? Buy some lead shoes. Before you buy a thobe and a kufi and a book and a pen and Medina University application and tazkiyah, buy yourself some what? Some iron shoes. Everybody understand this? Meaning what? He's basically telling you to prepare yourself for what? Difficulty. Prepare yourself for hardship. Prepare yourself for sacrifice and for suffering and for being tortured. Because all of your time, your energy, your efforts, your focus is channeled to ilm. So your finances, your health, your social relations, exercise, all of those things must suffer. And if you don't have this philosophy, know for sure that you're wasting your time. Everybody understand this? If you want to go to the top. Everybody understand this? A champion. A true what? True champion. Everybody understand this or not? And that's the bottom line. There are many people today, unfortunately, some people, I mean, inshallah, it's not their intention, but the reality is the same. They lie to the people. You can study Arabic once a week. You can take Medina and teach English and go to the gym and go eat Pizza Hut and Domino's and you can work full time. You can be a doctor. You can be an imam and also work at the hospital too. You can do all of these lovely things and still seek ilm and be serious. That's a lie. It's not true. It's not true. You can't devote yourself to something unless you do what? Devote yourself to that thing. Everybody understand this or not? You think Floyd Mayweather Jr., what is he thinking about when he wakes up? Uncle Faz, what do you think? Boxing. When he go to sleep, what's he thinking about? Boxing. Everybody understand this? Because that's his life. He has the talent, but he knows that the hard work has to be done, the sacrifice. You don't think he had people talk about him? You don't visit your family? You don't think so? Of course he does. You don't think he has problems, people saying things? But when he gets into the ring, what do you see? Different story. And I'll mention this specifically because I'm saying, why are you talking about the kuffar, the quote the kuffar? For a specific reason. Everybody understand this? It's unbefitting of us to ignore the culture in which we live in. This is a reality. Everybody understand this or not? And this is a kafir who doesn't believe in the last day, who doesn't drink or smoke. He trains every single day of the year. 365 days a year, he's training, working out. Everybody understand this? So when he gets into the ring, this move is like what? Instinctive. Everybody understand this? But it has to come with extreme what? Sacrifice. And all of the greats in this worldly life. We didn't get into the Muslims in the Salaf Salih. The non-Muslims who made things and invented things, all of them were accused of being crazy, being deranged. Everybody understand this? Read the history of the telephone, of electricity, this, that. All these people made these different things. They say, you're crazy. Spending 20 hours in the laboratory. Your eyes are shut, blood shot red. And then when he finished it and figured it out, then they say, oh, wait a second. He wasn't so what? He wasn't so crazy after all. Or maybe he was crazy, but we can benefit from it. So you have to devote yourself to what you want. Everybody understand this? You have to what? Devote yourself. And that comes with sacrifice. It comes with what? Sacrifice. So if you're unwilling to be a little hungry overseas, everybody understand this? If you're unwilling to be a little cold in the winter or hot in the summer, if you're unwilling of some of your family members to say things about you, if you're unwilling for people to talk about you and say things, then don't go overseas. Stay in America, be a chemical engineer, be a doctor. Wallahi, that's better for you. But if you want ilm, and you want to learn, and you want to benefit, and you want to, inshallah, Allah to raise you and elevate you, then it has to come with the iron sandals. So that's all I can say. When I was overseas, there was times I didn't have food. Allah knows it's not an exaggeration. Times which we did not have food to eat. There was no water to drink. But that's the sacrifice that you make. Wallahu alam.
M.H. South London. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. May Allah bless you, Mufti. What is the ruling on attending mixed universities, and what advice would you have for university students in the West?
Attending the mixed university, if it's a fitna for you, if you feel uncomfortable with it, if you feel it's haram, you can't take the men and the women mixing, people being uncovered, homosexuals, so on and so forth, don't go. Stay away from it. Stay away from it. However, if you feel that you have to go to the university, it's a necessity for you getting the necessary education that you need and the necessary occupation that you need, and the Muslims having professionals in their ranks in abundance, professional doctors, professional lawyers, professional businessmen, people that are professionals, and that's a different story. And if you can handle that fitna, if you can be married, if you can fast, if you can be righteous, if you can stay busy, lower your gaze and try your best and get in the lion's den and jump out, if that's what you can do, then maybe you may have to go, because there aren't but so many other alternatives. Studying online is an option, but everything you can't get online. Everything is not always accredited online. Everybody understand this? Everything you can't learn online. Everybody understand this? So that's what I feel in this issue. If you have to go, put your trust in Allah and go. If you don't have to go, you don't feel comfortable, don't go. If you don't have to go, but you feel it's a benefit, not a durura, it's not, you're not compelled, but you feel it's a benefit for yourself and the Muslims, put your trust in Allah, try your best and go and get out. Everybody understand this? But last but not least, piece of advice is, does college give you what you need? Everyone does not have to go to college. Everyone doesn't have to go to college. From all of the different places I've been to in the United States and Canada and this and that, most of the Muslim youth, they want to go to college. I want to be a doctor. 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 We did a video in Minneapolis, Minnesota, in the Somali community, and we were sitting in a classroom, and it was an Islamic school full of kids. The name of the video is called What You Want to Be, on the channel. We went around the whole room, and every single child said, I want to be a pediatrician, I want to be a basketball player, and only one of them said, I want to be an imam. Allah Alam, maybe 40 kids in the classroom. That's sad. This is it. But not even talking about Islamic knowledge. Why does everybody have to be a doctor? The scalpel that the doctor uses or the surgeon uses, the mask that he puts on his face, the technology, who makes that stuff? The temperature in the room, where does that come from? The shoes on his feet. All the things that the doctor needs to be a doctor is not necessarily made and produced by someone who went to what? Everybody understand this? There are other skills and professions that are needed. Everybody understand this? And there are many people that may go to college and they'll spend thousands of dollars, they'll be in debt, they have bad credit, they have to suffer with the women, the men, so on and so forth, and they come out of college and they starve. They can't get a job, they can't get married, they can't get a house. So college is not always the solution. There are vocational schools, there are all types of trades, all types of things you can learn and benefit from, and you can make good, respectable money, decent living with benefits for your wife and for your children. However, the modern Western culture, the colonial period of the Muslim countries and the Muslim lands, looking up to the kuffar and their world and their accomplishments, has made most Muslims into a trance, that this degree is the thing that feeds me. And many people I know personally, brothers in Medina, come to me and complain about their families. My brother's a doctor. My mother's a doctor. My father's a dentist. My whole entire household, this type of professional, white collar professional. And I'm the black sheep in the family. You want to go to Medina and study Islam? What are you going to do with that? Or the first question, how can you make money if you're an imam? How can you make money if you're a student of knowledge? What are you going to do with the degree? Everybody understand this? That's with regards to the Islamic knowledge. But outside of the Islamic knowledge, if you have a profession, if you're a baker or a chef or culinary arts, whatever the case may be, you have to go to school for that too. It doesn't mean that you're going to be successful just because you go to school. It doesn't mean you're going to make good money, you're going to be happy just because you go to college. What's important is qualifications and experience. However you get it. With a degree or what? Without a degree. And there are many people who've been in college that are miserable and they take a cocktail of drugs every day just to manage their day. And there are many people who never went to college and they're happy and they're peaceful. Wallahu alam.
S.A. Oakland, California. Assalamu alaikum. Is it permissible to take digital photographs of people?
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Please go back to the video that we have done. A brief discussion of the issue of taswir. A brief discussion of the issue of taswir. In which alhamdulillah we call it brief because it is brief, but alhamdulillah is very detailed. And we're talking about the ins and the outs of photographs, of videos, of taswir in detail. And it's also on the playlist of the major sins. So bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, you can go back to that video. And inshallah, me personally, from my studies and my research, I don't think it's haram to take a digital photograph. As long as the photograph is not something which is lewd and indecent. It isn't something that pertains to lewdness, pornography, so on and so forth. It's just something that's permissible to take. And it's done not with the hand, with illustrating with the hand. Then bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, hopefully it is permissible. Wallahu alam. But that doesn't mean that you have to take 50 million pictures. It doesn't mean, the selfies and the whole culture of this and that, that's a different story. However, what Allah and His Messenger said is haram, is haram. What Allah and His Messenger did not say is haram, is haram. The problem comes in the hadiths about taswir, which we explained in that video in detail. What's meant by kullu musawwirin fin nar. Wallahu alam.
Hanan Aslam, New York, New York. Assalamu alaikum. Regarding the story in which Imam Hanafi met the Prophet ﷺ in a dream and he was told not to recite the Dawood in the first tashahhud. Is this story correct?
With regards to the story of Imam Abu Hanifa seeing the Prophet Muhammad in a dream and he said, don't recite in the first tashahhud, the Dawood in the first tashahhud, so on and so forth. We say that Abdullah ibn Zayd, we mentioned in Lulu Marjan about the history of the what? The adhan. The history of the what? Of the adhan. And we also mentioned other narrations about in which he had a dream. Ibn Abdi Rabbihi. He had a dream in which he saw the man, he had the naqus. Everybody understand this? Like a drum. And he says, what are you going to do with, he says, Atabi' naqus. He says, you're going to sell it? He says, no, I'm going to call to the, he says, won't me teach you something better? And he taught him the adhan. After he woke up, the next morning he went to the Prophet and he told him what he saw. The first thing the Prophet said, Innaha ru'ya haqq, insha'Allah. Okay, maqala, he said, there's a true dream. فَأَلْقِهَا عَلَى بِلَالٍ فَإِنَّهُ أَنْدَى صَوْتًا مِنْكَ. Okay, maqala. He says, so teach your dream to Bilal, for indeed Bilal has a better voice than you. And then Umar radiallahu anhu came to the Prophet and told him, I saw the same dream. Alhamdulillah, he beat you to it. So the Prophet, he told the Sahabi that his dream was what? True. Everybody understand this? So the only time in which a ruling is affirmed from a dream is when the Prophet himself affirms it. If that's not the case, there is no legislation to be taken from dreams. Once more, there is no legislation that is to be taken from dreams unless Muhammad himself affirms it. Everybody understand this or not? Seeing the Prophet in a dream, فَإِنَّ الشَّيْطَانَ لَا يَتَمَثَّلُ فِي صُورَتِي. He can't take my image. That's not the discussion. People are going to say, you saying Abu Hanifa lied? You saying that he didn't see the Prophet? It's not the discussion. Muhammad sallallahu Allah says, إِنَّكَ مَيِّتٌ. He says, indeed you will die. Just like they would die. So therefore the Prophet sallallahu he passed. He left this world to Ar-Rafiq al-A'la. Alayhi salatu wasalam. So there's no confirmation of a dream for good or for bad. Period. So there's no ruling that's taken from a what? Dream. Whether it's Abu Hanifa or anyone else. Now, someone could see something in a dream or hear something in a dream which could assist him in something that's already tangible. Everybody understand this? Bushra from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, perhaps. But there's no legislation taken from what? Dreams. And this is one of the distinguishing factors between Ahl Sunnah, Ahl Hadith, and the different groups, whether they call themselves Sufis or not. It's not just about making zikr and sitting in a dark room. It's much deeper than that. There's many people, they think, oh, he's Sufi because he makes this dhikr, or he talks about zuhud, or he talks about the heart, or the internal. No. It's deeper than that. We have a problem of theory. Where is the deen taken from? Can we take legislation from a dream or from kitab and sunnah? Ahl Sunnah, Ahl Hadith, they say the legislation is taken from the kitab and the sunnah. That's it. And others may say we can take it from a dream, or we can take it from a prophetic vision, or we can take it from severe isolation and seclusion, khalwa. Then comes the other problems of spinning and dancing and zikr and the bid'ah and so on and so forth. But we have to get to the core problem. You don't take pills for a migraine and that's it. You have to find out why your head is actually hurting. Everybody understand this? So we take our deen from the sources of Allah and His Messenger. Everybody understand? So whether the story is true of Abu Hanifa or not, it means no. It means it's of no value. There's no legislation that's taken from a what? A dream. Everybody clear on this? And one may say, well, perhaps Abu Hanifa, he took the hadith, he took the dream based off of the other proofs and evidences. Whatever the proofs and evidences state, that's what we do. Tashahhud, qira'ah khalf al-imam, reciting behind imam, raising the hands, any issue. We go back to Allah and His Rasul, that which is clear. Wallahu alam. So let's read the last question, Salih.
A.M. Springfield, Virginia, George Mason University. What method would you recommend to memorize the Quran?
Whatever works. That's my method. Whatever works for you. Memorizing the short surahs first, starting from Al-Baqarah back. Having class every day, class every 3 days, 3 days a week. Memorizing 1 page a day, whatever what works for you. And if you have the ability to actually get a teacher, mu'allim, that you can sit down with, even if it's 10, 15 minutes out the day, hopefully the mu'allim won't insult you, won't call you Kermit the Frog. Your recitation is like Kermit the Frog. Some Quran teachers, they say this to their students. Allah musta'an. If you have an actual mu'allim that's going to teach you, then that's what you should do. And follow his instruction and his guidance. If you don't have a mu'allim, and you have to do it online, or you have to do it by listening to the tape, do whatever what? Works. Everybody understand this? Do whatever what? Do whatever works. Last but not least, guys, very important, something that we mentioned in Philadelphia last December, I believe, that we talk about different stories of people and life biographies and this video and this inspirational video of this imam, this one, and this athlete, so on and so forth. People become crazed with these things in the modern era. The life story of this one, the life story of that one. Don't ever forget, guys, that the story is what? 10% inspiration and what? 90% perspiration. 90% perspiration, 10% aspiration. Everybody understand this? The romantic story of this imam and this student of knowledge and how he graduated and benefited from Medina University is only have to be what? 10%. And then 90% has to be actual what? Sweat on your brow. So what works for this one, you take only that, and the rest of you have to do what? They say hammer and tong on the anvil, banging and burning. You have to put in work for the Quran, for Hadith, for Medina University. You have to do what? You got to put in work. You got to put in time. And put in whatever what? Whatever works. Wallahu alam. Jazakumullah khairan for your participation, for your time, for your attentive listening. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala surely knows best.